Okay, Earl and Tom's, Clovis, New Mexico. This is Trevor.
And Bree.
Bree. And we're going to talk about just different types of batteries, different types of carts. And I'm going to turn this over and try to shut up for a while. But one thing I'm going to talk about is we are not talking today about the material that's in the carts. That would be extraction techniques and what's in here, but there's a wide variety of different types of material you can put into a cart and smoke. And we kind of covered that in our past video of extraction techniques. Mm-hmm. But today I want to just specifically talk about the different batteries and the operations, and I'm going to let you take it over from here and just kind of talk about what's up here.
Well, we have a wide array of different kind of batteries, starting from the very basic screw to charge cheap battery with no way to adjust the heat, down to, let's say, the Luca Bear, which has all different features, change heat, tell you the battery percentage. We have some products from Clearly, which is a new company we've just got into, and their batteries are really good as well. We have, I believe this one is called the Spin, and then this is the Spin Pro, I believe. And then this is another one from them. I'm not sure what this one's called, but it's kind of flat. They do all different designs on the outside. Then we have a double chamber battery that can hold 2 cartridges at once. And then you kind of come down here and we got some disposables. So we have the Bloom rosin disposables, which are really nice. And then we have a 3-gram disposable. This one comes from iCrusher, really good brand as well. And then we have a Dime disposable, which is a big brand here in New Mexico now. We have some more rosin disposables. We have, this is a dry herb battery actually. So this is the only battery here that doesn't do wax or cartridges. It does dry herb. So you can just turn it on and put your regular flower right inside of it and it vaporizes it.
In fact, I've never tried one of those.
We'll talk about it a little bit, okay?
So yeah, we have a wide range of every kind of battery, and we're gonna just kind of talk about some of them today and kind of give you guys an idea
Let me just put that out.
what they're used for and which ones are good, because it's kind of, sometimes it's hard to find a good battery. You get cheap ones, and then I think people get tricked into batteries sometimes, and they think, okay, this will work, but then they get home and it's like it barely hits, and like you can't really charge it because you have to have a screw-on charger. So
What do you think about this, Bree?
I think it's cool. I think that it's really smart to help people know what kind of batteries are good and what kind of batteries aren't.
If you could have anything you wanted on this table, what would you go to? Because guess what I picked up? The Bloom surfboard. I'm sorry.
So I know that the Dimes are really, really good, but aesthetically and just by my eye, I want to go for that Bear.
Oh, okay. So the Bear is cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Show us how it works.
I'm pretty sure you just hit the little nose. Oh, you know.
Listen, we'll knock these down and we'll start talking about them, okay?
You just hit you just press the nose and then that's.
Does it work?
It's not on.
Okay, so she
Hit it
pushed the
5
button
times.
5 times. And that's kind of a general rule of most of these, even the Dime.
yeah, I think
1, 2,
every
3, 4,
single one with
5.
the button to turn on is 5 times.
So, and it's not all of them, because sometimes people get pissed when you push the button 5 times. But anyways, we're gonna talk about the 5 time. I just pushed the Dime, and you're smoking the Bear. Now listen, I've had this Dime in my backpack for about a month, and I don't smoke cards. I like to smoke weed, the flower. But what I will tell you is, this one, when I first pull, sometimes it's clogged. And I have to like literally try real hard to break that clog. And once I break it, it works. Let's see. See, it's clogged right now.
I found
But then I broke
to
it.
get
I
these
broke it.
clogs like this, the best thing to do is find the air hole. There's always an air hole somewhere on the cartridges and the disposable.
Okay, so air holes are different. I'm just saying, dude, when I just pushed the button, I couldn't, it wouldn't let me.
Right, I'm teaching them how to fix it.
Yep, okay, do
So
it.
you find the air hole, usually on the bottom on the 510 cards. Sometimes it's on the side on a disposable, but there'll always be just an air port. You find that air port and blow through it, and it'll pop that seal where it's kind of stuck and you can't get a hit. It'll pop it and let air come through all the way.
So
It's easier to blow than it is to suck.
Okay, so listen, this was stuck, but then I tried a little bit harder and it broke that seal, right?
You can do it that way too.
Now, let me tell you guys a story, and I know I'm being selfish, but I'm gonna do it. So I was at the restaurant last night, and I had this with me, and Tom had one also, and Tom was smoking his, but mine wasn't working. I kept on hitting it, and it wasn't working. But then I looked at here, and I was like, oh my God, there's a big bubble at the bottom. So what I did is I just sat there and warmed it up like this, and I held it in the right, because it was in my pocket like that. Therefore, the bubble got, so when I did this and I warmed it up, I saw that bubble starting to go up, and once that bubble went up, it started working again. Okay, so that's another, that happened last night, right? Let's see if this one works.
And you know, it usually doesn't get clogged if it's warm, so that makes sense, him warming it up, it lets that stuff move around. If it's cold, it's just gonna sit solid.
Yep.
So again, dude, as soon as I started inhaling, it was like, it felt like it was clogged, so I had to suck and suck a little bit harder, and then I broke that.
Yeah. And in the dispensary, we hear that all the time, the carts, they won't hit, they'll come in and we'll say, hey, try this, and they work just fine.
So when I was a kid, this was definitely what I'd buy, a standard battery, and you know, you put the two together. This one was super high tech because it actually has a dial at the bottom.
I was actually gonna say, I prefer the dials to the button changing. It's just more analog, I don't know, I think it's better in my opinion.
Come on, Bree, give us some insight here.
I don't know, I sometimes I have a problem with these ones.
Tell me why.
Because I feel like they don't get as hot sometimes, and sometimes I like a hot, fat rip,
Oh.
and I can't get it from these ones. This one, I feel like I could though.
Okay. And this is the, I call it the Looka, L-O-O-K-A-H. And they make the seahorse, which is definitely cool for dabbing. And so to me, they make batteries, and the batteries are somewhat decorative, you know?
They're all animal themed, so they have like the giraffe, the seahorse, the bear, the snail. Actually, they have a snail right here.
Okay,
So
so
this is a snail battery from Luca. It looks just like a little snail.
I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna spin this cart off, because in theory, you could buy this cart somewhere at a head shop, somewhere at a smoke shop at our store. Now, this is the Yukon, or what's it called? Yukon, and it's a little square battery, and the cool thing about it, you said you like, it does have the heat
It does.
adjustment, and I actually love that, and some people want to get that high heat. Personally, if I have something like this, I'm gonna take it to the lowest setting possible. And one thing we didn't say earlier, even with the dime, is even though it's on, you still probably have to hold the button while you're hitting it in most cases. Okay, so A, you have got to push it 5 times to turn it on. You also push it 5 times to turn it off. Now it's off because I'm pushing it. So I'm gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The green light comes on. And then I'm gonna push and hold if I want to smoke it.
And then on the other hand, some batteries like these clearly ones have an auto draw feature, so as long as it's on, in theory, yeah, you just take a hit.
Yeah, and same thing with this, there's no button to push, and but there's a green light, so when you're inhaling, you know you got that green light.
So basically that one, it lights up whenever it feels the air come through that porthole that I was telling you about.
Okay, so back to this little battery, this Yukon, or whatever it's called, I think this might be one of the best things on the market for carts, because you got total control. I love to go to the very lowest temperature, because once you start getting higher, you do burn those terps. You do damage, and so to me, the lower the temperature, the more terp potential you're gonna get out of
As
the
a
cart.
rule of thumb, the lower the temperature or the voltage that you set it at, you're gonna get more flavor, but the higher you go, you're gonna get more of an intense high. That's kind of how it works with all concentrates.
Well, and again, with the higher temperatures, I cough a lot more, so I just set it on the lowest temperature. I enjoyed that hit.
I'm a medium. I like to get a decent hit, but I don't want to cough my ass off.
Okay. The Duo, we talked about that. It's got 2 carts in it, and you can actually push buttons and either hit one side or the other, or have them both hit at the same time. So, have you ever used this one?
I have not,
Have you ever seen it before?
I have, but I just have not used it.
You wanna try it?
I do.
Use the top button.
Use the top button for both. So, that's probably a bad idea.
That
Did it work? Oh, it did work.
was a baby hit.
Okay, I'm a baby. It's okay. We're throwing that stuff around here. Okay, so listen, I want to talk about one thing. So first of all, a lot of these batteries have a charging port. So we just have a standard, I think it's called a USB-C, I think that's what it's called.
Yeah.
Where you can charge these. Some of these you have to screw into a charger. But anyway, so the good thing about a lot of these batteries, like the Dime, if the battery dies, you're not out of luck. You can just charge it. In theory, though, if the battery died on a Bloom, you're just out of
Yeah,
luck.
that one's out.
Because it's a disposable. You should never have to charge this is the idea. And you know what? We've sold a shit ton of Bloom. And if we've had any problems, you work in the store more than us. It's been very minimal. Is that fair to say? Uh-oh, tell us the truth.
I don't know, since we got the Fiores in,
Yeah?
everybody really likes the Fiores, but we still have a lot of people that like the Blooms, especially the 1 grams.
Well, my question is though, is do these batteries fail? Do you see that happen?
Oh, yes.
They
Yeah,
do?
we have quite a few people that'll come in right after they've gotten it, like maybe a couple days after they've gotten it, and they said that it went out.
Okay.
And that normally means that it probably wasn't charged properly before it was shipped to us.
Okay. So it does happen, guys, right? And you just have to bring it back and we have to work together. But to me, I will say if I'm gonna buy a cart, I'm gonna go out in the parking lot and test it and make sure it's working before I drive off.
Yeah.
Because carts can be problematic and
Better safe than
that's
sorry.
across the board, you know?
So that's part of the reason why we're doing these rosin disposables now. We've gone with a 1/2 gram because you don't have to worry about the battery messing up. It'll not clog. But these ones also have a charger. So unlike the Bloom ones, we don't have to worry about the battery dying. It lets the person, as long as they have a charging cable, they can charge it up themselves. Which I prefer when I buy a disposable. I don't want it to not be able to charge. That's like kind of scary.
Yeah,
Okay, so guys, I think we're gonna wrap this up pretty soon, but I have a couple more
I do
questions.
too.
Okay,
I have a
well,
question about this thing.
okay, well, let's, so let me even, so I'm gonna push the button 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's see, oh, it is charged. So this is a Yukon preloaded, which I didn't bring any weed, so I'm just gonna get this joint and take this ashes off. And I'm just gonna put that joint material straight in here, okay? And I'm gonna load it up, so you can see that's loaded up with a bowl. And then here's the mouthpiece, which has got a little ceramic tip right here. I'm gonna put it right there.
And it's magnetic?
And it's magnetic, and you can take the temperature. I'm gonna go high, okay? Because this thing's been sitting in my drawer for a year. And here's the thing: is I'm gonna talk about using this, but I'm gonna go ahead and push the button, and I'm gonna see if I can get a hit of actual heat. Let's see. You push the button, then you can feel it vibrating. You can actually see the temperature gauge. It's going up, right? So like right now it's 150 degrees. And again, this is actually me smoking just flour through a battery, but let's see if it works. It's going, it's heating. I'm gonna wait for it to go. See, look, and then there's like actually, it's saying, hey man, this might be 2 minutes. So I'm looking at this, so. Pretty good hit. But not real big, okay? And here's the deal, is it kind of turns it into coffee grounds when you're done. And I could have probably hit it a second time, but what I've learned about this is cool to sneak in and have a hit, but you get 1 or 2 hits and that's it. And really you get 1 good hit, and so I kind of stopped carrying it, because I'm like, dude, I don't know, I might load 1 good hit in it and hit it somewhere. And so, but I've had that for a long time, personally, probably for 2 years, and I have used it. But it's not my go-to by any means, you know.
What do you think about this one, Earl?
You know, this to me is very much like this. This is just a bigger capacity, right?
Yeah, well, they're the same brand, actually. That makes sense.
And so, again, chargeable. This one has a button to push, whereas this one doesn't. I do want to talk about this thing right here, okay? And this is an interesting discussion, in my opinion, because when I would talk with our friend, I'm going to call him JT at Bloom, okay, we're not going to give full disclosure of who it is, I would tell him, hey dude, smoking carts is so much harsher than smoking joints. But taking a cart to my father-in-law's at Christmas and going into the restroom and hitting it, I can do that and get away with it, where I can't go smoke a bowl of weed and get away with it. And even if I went outside to smoke the bowl of weed, I'm going to stink when I come in still. Whereas I can go into the restroom of the house, smoke this shit, and odds are nobody ever knows, right? And so it's a beautiful thing, but the truth is my throat is always the sorest after smoking carts compared to flour.
Yeah.
And so I told that to our friend JT at Bloom, and he's like, Earl, you should use this, and you can hook it up to your bong. And the idea is that you would be able to take the cart and stick it into something else so that it would cool the vaporizer. And so the theory is this would go into a pipe or into a bong, or you just have some addiction. So even the cart sellers themselves have said, hey, dude, you might want to consider something to cool that shit down before you inhale it. And they provided us with these as gifts, okay? That was a long time ago though too, right? And I don't see this shit anymore, but man, I do think if I do that, I'll stick it into my bong and I'll do my vaporizer through my bong, and I do think it's something that doesn't hurt my throat as much. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I agree with that. That's my biggest problem with cartridges and the batteries and everything. It seems to be harsh on your throat most of the time. But I think that you're sacrificing a lot of the pleasure of smoking flower for the convenience and the discreet part of it. That's what it's all about. This isn't about your main smoke, you know.
Bree, what do you think about that? Do you love carts, and carts are your go-to all the time? Or how do you feel about this topic?
It's like my number 2. Wax is my number 1, but vapes are my number 2.
Okay.
They are very convenient, and for somebody like me, I have a lot of anxiety.
Okay.
So I sometimes just need to go outside and I just need to hit my pen real quick, hit my cart. And
Okay,
it helps
so
a lot, so I like the convenience of it.
carts are number 2 over weed, even just flower, huh?
Yeah, sometimes flower is a little too harsh on my throat, but that might be because I smoke a lot of vapes.
Hey, listen, so I want to close this with telling you guys a story about me smoking a cart last night in a restaurant and people kind of getting mad at me. Okay, but before I close with that story, is there anything else you want to add?
I think when it comes to these batteries and all the carts, just go for a good brand and don't turn it up all the way the first time. Hit it real low and start slowly turning it up to find the right temperature. And I would even do that almost with every single cart you buy, just because every cart's going to be different and it's going to hit differently, because all these brands are using different hardware and different materials on the inside. So just start low and always start low and then move your way up. Because hitting a real hot cart can mess up your day.
Oh yeah.
Okay, before you say something, Bree, because again, to me, this is not a good-looking cart. It's very boxy and stuff, but the temperature control,
The features of it, yeah.
the feature and the function of it, and the fact that I can take it down so low, I would rather be at low heat. I'm an advocate of low heat, man. Listen, the high heat, sure, man, it might get you off at a different level, but I sincerely think it's a better, cleaner high. The terps are more protected with the lower temperatures. And I'm just going to always say, look, I'd rather hit that thing 10 times at a low temperature compared to 1 time at a high temperature.
You know, dabbing for years, nobody would listen to me on the low temp dabs. Everybody just take red hot dabs, and only over the past few years have people started to realize how it's not good to take the high temp dabs.
Okay, so now, I'm sorry, I interrupted because he talked.
The battery.
So let's hear your conclusions here, if you don't mind. Give us some parting words.
Make sure if you have a battery with a button, you turn it off before you put it in your pocket. Or your pocket will smoke your cart for you. I know from personal experience.
Okay, so turn the battery off, guys. That makes a lot of sense. And then you also see dangers a lot of times where batteries will burn and stuff like that. And so turning the battery off, and again, usually each of these batteries, I'm going to say 90% of the batteries I buy either A, don't have a button, because you just pull in, or they do have a button and it's a 5 touch to turn it off or on.
It's usually the 5.
Usually the case. And so you 5 times turn on, 5 times turn off, and that's just a safety feature in itself. Okay, so anyways, I was at K-Bob's last night, okay? And I'm a fan of K-Bob's in Clovis, New Mexico. You know, there's typically like one person working the entire restaurant and the bar, and they're killing themselves, but you still get good service and it works out and the food's always better than average. Andreas, can you at least confirm that K-Bob's is decent, or what's your opinion?
It's all right.
It's all right, okay? So there you go, which probably means pretty good if Andreas thinks it's all right, okay? So anyways, there was a guy sitting in the corner, and he was sitting there hitting his vaporizer the whole time. And I'm sitting there going, okay, he's sitting there hitting his vaporizer the whole time, and he's over there in that corner, and Tom's like, I'm gonna go hit my vaporizer out in the, outside. And again, this is where I had to get this one working with my thumb. And I'm like, I can't get mine to work, and I'm sitting there at the bar, and I'm like, Tom, dude, that guy's hitting his vaporizer nonstop. I'm just gonna hit my vaporizer right here. So I hit it, and then I blow out the big ass cloud of smoke, and then I look over to my left, and there's like the manager and 3 waitresses, and they're all just looking at me and pointing at me.
They probably know who you are, Earl. I know they probably understand you don't have a nicotine vape.
Probably.
I don't think they know who I am, okay? Maybe they do, maybe they don't. I don't think they did, but the fact is, I forgot to look to my left before I hit the cart, okay? Had I looked to the left, I may not have done that. But in the end, they didn't care, dude. Everybody was happy. We passed out a few tokens, you know, and so those 1 cent tokens are probably gonna come back from K-Ball just today or tomorrow, you know?
That's a good thing, I think.
Yeah, so, okay, guys, well, thank you, Bree, for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Andreas, thanks for the recording, and Trevor, as always, a pleasure.
We're here for it.
All right, there you go, batteries.